All right, everybody. Hello and welcome once again to the amazing Rochester, New York. I say amazing because it actually snowed today, which is insane. You wouldn't know it from looking outside because the sun came out finally and melted everything away. But welcome as well to the Rochester Parkour Gym. Each and every Friday, we turn this place into a wonderful Nerf arena. However, recently, that's not so, and that's okay. We are using this opportunity to do and explore a lot of other things that I've been meaning to do for quite a while, but for whatever reason, have not had the chance to do. So today, I wanted to walk you through my journey of learning about live streaming, what it is, how to do it, how to effectively set up a stream under different circumstances. There are a lot of different videos out there that do a walkthrough or a how-to about live streaming. I take things a little bit differently. I think of myself as a teacher at heart in this, and what I want to help you do is to understand what exactly you're doing when you live stream. And then with that new education, with that new knowledge, you can take that and start to extrapolate it and start to understand exactly what you're looking to do when you're trying to decide whether or not you want to live stream an event. And especially in today's current climate, live streams are everywhere. Everybody is moving towards live streaming, and a lot of people are either just using what's available and easy, but when they start to think about, oh, I want to do more stuff, or I want to add more features into a stream, if I want to add music, or if I want to bring extra people in, suddenly it gets a little more challenging, and they start to get frustrated because, as I will explain, live streaming has been a very frustrating experience for me, but it's also been a really wonderful experience of just putting myself in a situation totally not understanding what the hell I was doing, and then having sort of no choice but to figure it out and to deep dive into it and learn what's going on and what's going to happen. For those of you that don't know, if you're watching this after the fact, if you found this somehow because you're like, live streaming, yeah, I want to learn about live streaming. My name is Aldas. I do Nerf War videos. The channel started off as just video on demand content, and then somewhere around 2018, I decided, you know what, well, I guess I played around a little bit with live streaming prior to that, but really in 2018 is when most of this switch happened, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to attempt to live stream these events. And not only just live stream them the way that I'm live streaming here with a camera that's facing me and everything is wired in, I wanted to do wireless live streams. I wanted to be able to show you my first person view as I ran around my Nerf arena and played with Nerf blasters. And it seemed like something that would have been so easy, and I say that knowing that that's horribly naive of me, but a lot of people just kind of take everything that they see for granted, which is to say, you're watching me right now and you probably don't really understand the mechanics behind how am I watching Aldas live right now at the quality that it's coming through and being able to interact with them. Like, a lot of this stuff, because it's free, right? It's here, and you can chat with me and I can say like, hey, the Tactical Nerd, welcome to the stream. Manmaster Original, welcome to the stream. NorCal Nerf Club Nerf Builder, semicolon, welcome back to the stream. Yes, that's my wonderful plushie Appa right up there. He's keeping me company today. Jonathan, our NPC Jonathan, gifted that to Nicole for her birthday one month. It was pretty, I think it was last year actually. We play some games with him too. It's pretty cool. Viking 119, absolutely welcome. But it's really easy for us to take this entire experience for granted and not really understand what is actually happening when we do this. What happens when you take a video with your phone and either it works, or maybe you try to do something and it doesn't work. And I don't know. Here's an interesting conundrum that just occurred right now because this is a live show. Nerf Builder is saying, is it choppy for anyone else? Nerf Builder, it's very likely that your internet download speed is maybe fractured right now and you're not able to view this in real time the way that it is. I'm streaming at a super high bit rate of 10 megabits a second right now, 1080p, 60 frames a second. If your internet can't handle that, it very likely will be choppy for you, and that's something that you kind of have to give and take a little bit, especially nowadays. It's kind of interesting. I do most of my video editing and most of my computing remotely. I have my desk, my PC that I use for live streaming. It's here, right? I'm sitting in front of it, but I've been leaving it here in the gym, and obviously my house is not the gym, and I've been remoting into my computer and just doing my daily work through the normal course of the day. But so many people are doing remote meetings. It's really amazing to me how like I can have a fiber optic connection, a super high download speed, a super high upload speed, but like around noontime, it's incredible how bad the bandwidth becomes, because everybody is using so much data nowadays that it's kind of just like it's blowing out the whole system for everybody. But yeah, so that's essentially what I want to talk about today. I want to help you understand what we are doing and how you can use that education and that knowledge to go off and maybe stream your own event. Maybe just have some more fun and understanding as to what you're looking to do with your hobby or your job or anything else. Or when you're going out, let's say you're saying, hey, I wanna buy a camera, because you don't even just need to gain this knowledge to buy or like to live stream. This knowledge works for every video format. I want to walk you through what I've learned in the last 3 years of exactly what this means and what we're doing. Bradley Phillips, welcome to the stream. Aldos was probably the only person not using a phone or laptop webcam. That is correct. This is a mirrorless camera that I'm using, and yeah. But we're gonna talk about all of it as we travel through this journey. So just a real quick to once again go back how I got into live streaming. I was doing a lot of just regular video on demand content. I had an action camera. My favorite action camera is this wonderful little thing right here. It's called the Sony FDR X3000. This is cheaper than a GoPro. It still is my favorite. And I think this camera it's definitely at least 3 years old. It might even be 4 years old. It may have come out in 2016. And I'm so sad too that Sony has not yet created a successor to this, but it's so good. And I'm gonna explain why it's so good. But this, I've been taking, I started off just taking regular video with that. I go in, I edit it afterward, I put it up on the internet for people to watch. And then somewhere around 2018, I decided, you know what? I have a little bit of money saved up from YouTube. I was trying to figure out what can I do with this YouTube money that can help me do something that take my channel in a completely different direction than I was going towards. I said, you know what, I really want to try to, I feel like I've got an interesting setup with this arena, with the access that I have to fiber optic networking. I wonder if I can figure out live streaming. And I started off trying to figure out how to live stream. I very quickly figured out that I didn't understand what I was doing. I started things off by buying a wireless HDMI transmitter, and I'll explain why that doesn't work eventually out in the stream. And very quickly realized, oh, this like a transmitter doesn't do anything. It's not encoding anything. It's just transmitting a raw, uncompressed HDMI feed from my camera to a receiver. How do I get the receiver to actually do something? What can I use it as a encoder? Oh, I can use a desktop as an encoder, and I had just acquired a desktop. So I was like, okay, cool. I can just plug this receiver into the HDMI of my desktop, and then figured out, oh no, you can't do that. You need a game capture card, because HDMI in a computer is for an output, not an input. You go, whoa. Well, shoot, okay, so how much does a game capture card cost? Turns out a lot of money. And so that's sort of how everything got started from there, of diving in, getting myself into this nonsense, basically just like diving into the sea and going, oh, shucks, how do I get out of here? What did I do? I basically had to like dive in and then try to figure out how to build myself a boat while swimming the entire time, going, this is terrible. So we're gonna start as I like to do with everything that seems way too complicated, we are going all the way back to the beginning and just explaining for a moment what moving pictures are. And I know it seems so simple, like, oh, moving pictures, like it's literally a picture, but it's timed accordingly that when they come in rapid succession, it creates the illusion of a moving image, which is, what I'm doing right now, moving myself around, and it looks, okay, fantastic, cool. And that's our frame rate, whatnot. So it's really cool though that like the first ever moving picture was so long ago. It's incredible. And it's from a guy named Edwards Muybridge. And this is, I'm gonna move this way. Oh, does this, I wonder if it plays, cool, fantastic. This is the first moving picture. And it's basically a guy who took a series of cameras and just took rapid succession still frame photos and then realized if he played them back in a wheel, it created the illusion of a moving image. How insane, right? You're looking at it. Nope. Yeah. Hey, fantastic. You're looking at it. It's right there. How crazy is that? And so I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff and adding things in as we go along through the day today. I have links down in the description if you want to try to follow along as we go through, or just do your own research and learn. By all means, go on down there and check out the links. But why I'm bringing this up is because this is going to bring up a conundrum that we all need to understand, that what Edwards Muybridge did was take an image and then just figured out a way to create a rapid succession of images, put them together, and then when you play them back quickly, ta-da, it looks like the thing is moving. That spawned regular film, as in film strips, the things that you might remember a well-known company in the past about. I say the past, they're still technically around. I'm in Rochester, New York. I am literally at the headquarters of a company called Kodak, and it's a shell of what it used to be. It literally employed like 80,000 people in the Rochester area way back when. And then if you don't know the sad story about Kodak essentially invented the whole and like monopolized the whole industry of film making, not filmmaking like videos, but actually the process of creating the film strips that would then go off, be shot, capture the images, and then get played in a cinema. Kodak had that. It had the entire industry. How crazy, right? And then they did this thing by inventing the digital camera, and they were worried that it was going to ruin their film industry, that they didn't do anything with it. And now they've gone bankrupt, and they employ 3,000 people in the Rochester area, and they barely do anything of what they could have been. They could have been a huge company had they gone the digital realm. And so our life is digital nowadays. Our entire being is digital. And so to know that that's what happened to Kodak, it's just such a shame, right? However, with that understanding, we're going to use our idea of a film strip to help us understand two new vocabulary words that you need to understand when you're thinking about what live streaming is and how you're seeing a video right now. We've got something called an intra frame, and we have something called an inter frame. And if you look down in the description, you're going to see a link that I added here for you from a guy named Larry Jordan. And this article that he goes through is actually incredible. It's very well done. I'm gonna try to bring it up on stream so that you can see real quick. And let's see, I'm gonna do this real fast. Ta-da, transition. Whoa, craziness, right? Okay, so, and then we're gonna go over to Larry, wherever that was. Hey, Larry Jordan. This is essentially a wonderful explanation as to what intraframe is versus interframe. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, I'm just gonna do a brief summary, but you should absolutely read this if it's something that you are interested in understanding. There's something called an iframe. What is an iframe? An iframe is literally, if you think of a film strip, every cell of a film strip is a full complete image. That's essentially what Edwards Muybridge did. He took full images with all of the information captured in that film technology, played them back in rapid succession, and created a moving picture, right? So when you think about taking that full frame, that full data that comes through in each and every film strip, and you put them in rapid succession, we create that film, we create that understanding, right? Cool, fantastic. However, as our cameras and as our equipment and life becomes better and better at extrapolating data, and it becomes able to capture more and more data, you have to understand that each image is not free. It has a real data limit when you take yourself away from this analog coding system of having film. You've put it there, it's light sensitive, you open it up to light, you expose it, and now it's there forever. That's easy to do when you're using film. And when you think about it, I think he says it here somewhere, that how many pounds a film strip weighed. Oh, here we go. Okay, so a 1-hour broadcast television program required 4,800 linear feet of videotape. Imagine carrying that around. This live stream will likely be longer than an hour. I don't have 4,800 linear feet, nor would I ever. That's ridiculous, right? And recorded on either 1-inch helical or 2-inch quad tape. The 2-inch tapes alone weighed close to 30 pounds. So then you'd have to take that and you have to cart it around to wherever you want it to go, and in order to show it to people. Obviously, that has huge limitations when it comes to transmission. You can't, you would have to bring it to a central location that would then need to figure out how to transmit that out. That is challenging. So when we switch to digital, now we have a whole new conundrum of how do you transmit all of the data that was captured on film, right? It's there, it's a physical thing. Now you have a non-physical thing. You've got these data bits. How can you get those data bits sent over to somebody that can then see them? And that's where we talk about codecs, the ability to encode data and decode data so that people can see what it is you're doing, while also understanding that we don't have unlimited bandwidth. Even now, in today's age, we don't have unlimited bandwidth. People have real limitations. And so let's transition myself back over. Hey, fan, there I am, cool. We have very real limits. Somebody earlier was saying that it looked choppy for them. And even though I'm streaming at 10 megabits a second, if you don't have a 10 megabit a second available download speed, it's very likely that you're going to have to buffer the stream, and it's going to have to process on the back end in order for you to view it, because you're not seeing an analog film strip. This is all digital. It's all digital. It's all numbers and code, and it has to be decoded properly. How is it being decoded? How is it being encoded? Let's get into it. So, following through, way back when, in the 80s, I think it was 1988. This is insane, right? 1988, a group of companies got together and all collaborated with their patents to create the first form of real mass use encoding, which was called Advanced Video Coding, AVC. You're seeing AVC right now. It's a new version called H.264, but it essentially it's working very similar to how it did back in the 80s. They're compressing the video file. The raw output that's coming from this camera is being compressed in a way that it can actually be sent out to you, because you can't just take the raw data from a camera sensor and output it. If you were to do that, and it says this on Larry Jordan's article, where is it? Going down. An uncompressed standard definition video required about 35 megabytes, not bits. 35 megabytes per second to record or play back. While uncompressed means many different things, in HD, a round number for uncompressed 1080p, that's what this is, 1080p HD, is about 210 megabytes per second. I guarantee none of you have the available bandwidth to see this stream uncompressed. It's not possible. I don't even have the upload capacity to send that data out, let alone you have the download ability to pull that in. Just so that you understand, a byte is 8 bits. So if you're looking at bytes and you're trying to translate it into bits, because again, I'm streaming at 10 megabits a second, not 10 megabytes per second, you have to take that number and multiply it by 8. If you want to figure out your bytes per second, you would take your bandwidth. If I've got, let's say, 100 megabytes, you would divide that by 8, and 100 megabits, you have to divide that by 8. That gets you your megabytes per second. And so that is essentially how all of this comes together and all of that works. It's compressing it down so that it can actually be transmitted out to most people. Especially, I mean, even still now, I know a lot of people that still don't have anywhere near what I would consider like the lower end. I'm very blessed with having a fiber optic network at my workplace, at my house. I've got a download speed well in the hundreds of megabits. I have an upload speed that's roughly 50 megabits. So I'm very blessed to have that. Many people don't. Many people don't have access to that. And if you don't, then you're very stunted with what you can do, how you can consume data on the internet, and what you can do. So with that in mind, let's travel along again, and we're going to talk about H.264 and exactly what it's doing. And H.264 is a form of video compression. And if you want a more detailed view as to what exactly compression is and how it functions, I added a link in the description to another wonderful video, and it's by a guy named Leo Isaac-Dogan. I don't really know how to pronounce that last name. Regardless, it's a pretty decent video. It's pretty short too, and it just starts to give you the understanding as to how these compression formula work and how it's actually taking this huge uncompressed file and making it so much easier to handle and compressing it down and helping us understand why that works. I'm just gonna play around a little bit with the stream for a moment, and I'm gonna try this. I don't know if it really works because of lighting change and whatnot, but I'm gonna explain a little bit on stream what the compression formula of H.264 does. H.264 is not taking every single frame. I'm streaming at 60 frames a second. You are not seeing 60 full pictures a second. That's not how the compression works. If that were to be the case, this stream would be way higher bandwidth. And again, I'm streaming at 10 megabits a second. That's still pretty high for a live stream. It would be even higher if this video were not compressed in the way that I'm about to explain. What H.264 does is takes one full frame image, it calls that an iframe, just like we talked about with the film strip, where each cell is its own image, that's an iframe. And then it's going to analyze and create text files that they guess at where pixels are going to move and how they're going to be changed. And then a couple frames later, or 12 frames later, or 30 frames later, or 60 frames later, or in this case, I'm streaming in a very long group of pictures, you're not going to see another iframe for another 120 frames. So basically 2 seconds, right? Goes through, boom. YouTube likes it when you give them a keyframe or an iframe every two seconds. It takes that new secondary full frame image, and it's going to take all of those text files in between, and your computer is trying to decode the encoded stream that I'm sending you to create whatever is in between those two iframes. You get one iframe, couple seconds later is another iframe, and then it has to spread everything in and interpret that from text files. That's insane. But it makes a lot of sense because anything that doesn't move can just stay the same. For instance, if I don't know if this is gonna work the exact same way because I did this earlier, but I'm gonna do this real quick. Okay, something changed, right? And you may have noticed it. A piece of tape right there appeared, right? And that's because that image isn't actually there. That image is there, right? Appa, cool, fantastic. Yay, fantastic. And I'm moving around. And that's all being encoded and encrypted, or not encrypted, but encoded and sent to you, and then you have to decode it. But if nothing moves in that frame, it doesn't need to change it. Those pixels can stay the same as everything else moves, and it makes the whole file significantly less large. So if I put that frame back, you say, okay, cool. If that were just there, nothing moves, it can stay there the entire time. And then obviously if I do this, you'll go, wait a minute, what's going on, right? That's essentially what the compression formula is going to do. It's going to figure out what pixels are moving, what pixels aren't. If the pixels aren't moving, just leave them. And we're only going to think about the pixels that actually change and actually move. And from doing that, you can save a whole lot of bandwidth. And you can save a whole lot of information and compress it down, and it doesn't need to be as large. And so that essentially is what is happening when you compress a video down in H.264 in an MPEG format and either upload it to YouTube or stream it out in the way that I'm doing right now. Because this is live, I'm probably going to be like editing this down eventually at some point in time to make this a little bit more cohesive for those of you that want to learn about this but don't want to sit through this entire stream. So while I'm here and because it's live, I just want to check up on chat real quick because I see some stuff going through and I don't want to miss it. Oh, Bradley Phillips says, I was considering tethering my Nikon D850, but the shutter only stays open for, 30 minutes. So I just used the laptop cam. Yeah, that's a shame. Having your camera die in the middle of a stream would not be super fun. Bradley Phillips says, gotta remember that primitive digital was far worse than film. No, that's true. Primitive digital was pretty bad. And it took a lot of, it blew my mind when I first learned that MPEG was invented in '88. I was born in '87. So compression has been around, or at least AVC compression has been around since I was a year old. That's insane, right? That's kind of crazy. Sergey, welcome to the stream, man. I miss you. I hope you're staying safe out there in California. Too much handsomeness. Your connection can't handle it. Oh, God. Oh, man. Bradley Phillips says, if I remember correctly, YouTube's compression algorithm wouldn't be sending us data for areas of the video that haven't changed, e.g. corners in the background you haven't moved in front of. Yes. So even though I'm encoding this and sending it out to you, YouTube is also, they're compressing it as well because they don't want to deal with whatever bandwidth I'm sending them and whatever data I'm sending them. They're going to compress it down and make it significantly easier when they transfer that out. So keep that in mind as we move on forward. Now, with all of that said, it's incredible how the algorithms and the processing power in today's day and age has become so amazing that you can get something like this, it's just a simple phone, and phones nowadays can take 4K video. That's insane. How can a phone take 4K video? And now it starts to get into the point in time where you have to understand what kind of 4K video is a phone taking? And what does it mean? Is all 4K video the same? And the ultimate answer to that is it's not. Not all 4K video is the same. How one sensor is able to manipulate an image and the data that's being sent to it and compress it down is different from another piece of equipment. You've got different forms of sampling rates. I'm not going to go into that because it's significantly more advanced than we need to get into, but there is a very real difference where you can have a 1080p camera that can, let's say, do a sampling rate of 444, but you have another one that can only do 420, those images will be very different, even though the resolution is technically the same. 1080p in both situations, but because one is able to handle more colors and more data and more content in it and able to process it, now you have an image that technically will be more refined or better in comparison to a different piece of equipment. So we have to talk about all of that. There's bit rates, not bit rate, but you can have an 8-bit image versus a 10-bit image or a 10-bit file. Same thing, more advanced than I need to get into today, but if you have a video piece of equipment, a video camera, one is able to do, let's say this, most things in our life is 8-bit video. What you're seeing right now is 8-bit video. What you'll see, some people are able to capture and stream or encode or just, put out their 10-bit video, and that's significantly better. It can process and handle more colors. Again, things that we don't need to get into today, but it changes the resulting image, and it's the reason why one camera might be more expensive versus another. And so then we start to get into the understanding of what exactly is compressing the video down. And now we have to talk about the fact that because this is an algorithm, it's a calculation that's happening. You need processing power in order to encode a video. The better your processor, the faster the encoding can happen, and the better it is able to deal with more and more data per second. So that's where you might take something like this and you go, okay, so it might be able to shoot 4K, but the 4K video that you see from this might be significantly lower quality when you view it versus something that's coming out of the camera that you're seeing right now, which is a mirrorless. But even that, in comparison to a 10-bit full frame sensor video that is able to compress, because this right now is sampling at 420, if you have something that can capture raw, that's going to be significantly better, and you're going to see a lot more colors, you're going to see a lot more detail in that. You've got a whole echelon and tier system of how this equipment can handle and process the data that it's being tasked with. So, with all that said, this thing, when I put an SD card in it, boom, and I hit the record button, what this thing is doing is compressing the video. That's what it does. That's what it is here for, and that's what a GoPro does. That's what pretty much any action camera does. That's what your phone is doing. It's giving you the resulting image, which will be an MPEG format AVC encoded video. I mean, typically it's going to be an AVC encoded video. I can't imagine anybody doing anything else, but most things in our life is AVC H.264 right now. That's what this is. And again, some sensors are going to be able to operate better than others, but when I hit the record button, I get an MPEG, an MP4 file on my SD card. And I'm able to take that and I can play it on a computer or my phone, because what my phone is doing is decoding that stream and is able to see it and play it back. You go, oh, cool, fantastic. And you can see it in real time. When you stream though, because this thing has that. It's got, obviously the micro USB in there that can power it. But the next one is an HDMI out. And what this thing is able to do is put uncompressed HDMI raw sensor data out through the HDMI. You go, okay, so how can I stream using that? And now we talk about equipment and what needs to happen in order for stuff to be encoded and sent out to you. And that's where we get into the differences between software encoding and hardware encoding. How can you get an image and get it to a processor that can encode it down and either save it as a local file or stream it to the internet? What you're seeing right now is software encoding. I have my camera that is right here, boom. It is hooked up with HDMI out into my desktop computer through a game capture card, and then I'm going to show you here. Let's find out. This is Streamlabs OBS. This is the software that I am using in order to encode this video feed and send it out to you. And because it's software, I can do so many different things, and I have a lot more flexibility and freedom to play around with it. I could put the running horse back up. Oh. There we go. I could put the running horse back up and play that out if I so chose. And obviously it's going to be super crazy on your screen. But again, because it's software, I can play around with it. I've got this wonderful user interface in front of me that I can play with, but you don't need to. And like, obviously you can't play around with how your camera is encoding video or anything else. And that's the difference between a software encoder and a hardware encoder. A hardware encoder its only job in life is to just encode that data and either save it or send it somewhere. So when I stream on a Friday, I've got this thing on my head. It's about right here. And I move around. It's cool. And then through my HDMI out, I've got a little adapter because this is micro HDMI. And my hardware encoder needs regular HDMI. And so that gets plugged in to an HDMI cable that just gets plugged in right through here. And then I have a really unique piece of equipment right here. And this replaces my computer when I stream. That's not streaming right now, but again, when I'm playing Nerf, this is what I'm using. Its only job in life is to take in an HDMI source and encode it and be able to send it somewhere. You can do that through wire. It's got an Ethernet port right through here that you could, hook it up and then send it out through the internet. Or this one is a little bit more expensive because it's got this little thing right here. It's Wi-Fi. I almost dropped my camera. That wouldn't be so fun, right? It's got Wi-Fi. And this is why I'm able to wirelessly run around and show you images from my camera in near real time. It's not perfectly real time, but it's almost real time. And that's how that works. That's what this is. I wear this thing on my back. I have a power bank that charges this. I have a separate power bank that charges my camera, and it's hooked up, and it just sends the stream out. And through this box settings, I'm able to say, hey, I want to send this out to YouTube, or in this case, I'm sending it out to Restream, and that can send it out again to YouTube and Facebook Live at the same time. And I'm streaming through Facebook Live as well at the same time. So feel free to play around with this as you so choose. Real quick, Bradley Phillips says, I'd rather a 1080p video from a full frame sensor than 4K from whatever size sensor phone has than a phone has. Yes, absolutely. So, everybody's on my back. This is a hardware encoder. Because it's a hardware encoder, I'm not manipulating the raw data in real time from this. I'm not able to do fun stuff like play music or be able to add, funky GIF videos of horses running or anything else like that. All this is doing is encoding the raw video data from my camera sensor. It's doing what this record function does to an SD card, but its only job in life is to encode it and send it out to the internet. And this works. It works really well because this is a very large piece of equipment. That's my phone in comparison. And you think about what kind of processor exists on this versus this, and how this has to do so many other tasks at the same time. And so when people get frustrated that they're trying to stream to Facebook Live, or they're trying to use their phone to stream to YouTube, or they get frustrated that Zoom is so fuzzy, for lack of a better term. I've heard some people being like, why does Zoom look so bad? Zoom looks so bad because Zoom is trying to process and handle a ton of data every second for free. Why should they do that for you? Why should they let you do that, right? They're compressing this down so much that all you see are some like blurry pixels based on the algorithm to make it easier for phones to handle, to make it easier for their servers to process all that data and send it out. That's their prerogative. They don't need to give you this free thing. Now, I have other stuff that needs to happen. So again, boom, I've got this I can't really hook up to anything else. I can't even do, like, it only does HDMI in. I can't even, they make these sometimes with HDMI outs as well that you can just kind of like plug in. Maybe you do, if you want to encode a PlayStation or an Xbox, it can literally go in and then it's got an HDMI out that you can plug into a monitor and you can see what's going on your TV or on your computer screen or anything else while that encoder is working in the background. Mine can't do that. It is what it is. That's okay. But if you want to use your computer as a software encoder, you're going to need to do one of two things. You're either going to need your phone to stream to an RTMP server on its own, and then you're going to need to use VLC with your software encoder to pull it in, or you're going to need to wire your camera up. I'm just going to put my camera down so I don't drop it anymore. You're going to need to ingest that video, that uncompressed HDMI somehow to get it to something that can process it, like your CPU or your GPU, your graphics card, in order to encode it down and send it out. And in order to do that, you're going to need a game capture card. The first game capture card that I got was this. This is a piece of hardware. This is an Elgato Capture HD. Not all capture cards are the same. Just because you buy one doesn't mean that you can do exactly what, or that it can handle what your camera is able to handle. This camera is sending out a ton of uncompressed data, and it can output 4K video. This thing maxes out at 720p. It stops it there because that is all the data rate that this thing can handle, and I believe it stopped you at 720p 30 frames a second because it was not able to ingest anything more than that. This has its own stuff. This is not encoding the data, it's just helping it get into your computer so that your CPU or GPU can encode it and send it out to the internet. That's all that this does. It gives you the HDMI in capability. What I'm using right now is an upgraded version of this. It's an Elgato HD Pro. It's not a 4K version, whatever it is. But it's allowing me to pull in a video feed that's 1080p, 60 frames a second, and all the data that comes with it. And that is helping my computer understand what's coming in from the camera. It's able to compress it down and again, send it out to you. That's what we got going on. Now, a lot of this whole rant and this whole learning experience got started because somebody asked me not too long ago. They said, hey, I want to get better at live streaming. I want to use, or I hear that GoPros can now live stream natively, as in you can buy a GoPro, very similar to this thing, and it will live stream for you. But what I want you to think about is what is actually happening and what are you asking of that piece of equipment when you say that you want it to live stream and record at the same time. When you put these two things together, you say, okay, maybe this has some more advanced processor units in it, or maybe it's just built better than this thing. This thing is huge in comparison to this. But what you get from this is something that is well built, that won't overheat, that is able to do its sole job of just encoding and streaming out that video. When you consider what a GoPro is able to do, you start removing your ability to control the stream. Control is a really important thing with live streaming. And I say that as somebody that literally just spent a year, not a year, it's been 6 months, honestly, it's been 6 months. For those of you that have been around the channel for a while, you saw us when we were across that wall back there in the old space. The old space was about 3,300 square feet. I don't know what that is in meters, but it's about 3,300 square feet. Significantly smaller than where we are right now. The longest distance in the old arena was 50 feet. The new longest distance here, the width, is 50 feet. The length is 90 feet. Significantly more. It's not, the whole space is 5,000 square feet. but our movement space where we actually play with our Nerf blasters and Nerf game modes and whatnot is actually smaller. Aldos, incoming, by the way. You'll see if it pops up in chat. I don't know what that means. But hi, Ian. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. So, when I was Wi-Fi streaming with this thing in the old space, it worked flawlessly. It was fantastic. It was great, right? Because I was always near my router, sending out that wireless signal, communicating back and forth, and sending all that data that was encoded on the encoder and sending it to my router and then streaming it out to the internet. Cool. Here, it's a completely different story. As I get farther and farther away from my access point, it gets significantly more challenging to get this to communicate my access point, especially in our space, because we got like these huge structures with metal bars and a lot of the wood is like super thick. It starts sending the signal everywhere. Because I was wireless, I lost control of my stream, and it started to become a huge challenge and a huge journey to figure out what the hell is going on and why does the feed keep cutting. I never had streaming issues before. Long story short, turned out it was not my equipment, it was not my space. I mean, technically. What ended up happening was we had so many new businesses pop up around us right when we moved that all were buying their own wireless routers and setting up their wireless networks, and nobody was coordinating with each other, and we were all broadcasting on the same Wi-Fi network, or the same Wi-Fi channels, and just making our entire Wi-Fi environment around us so noisy that it became super unreliable. Cool end of the story. I contacted all of my neighbors and we all agreed to coordinate together, and that's why the stream recently, when we were actually able to play on Fridays, why the stream has been significantly better, because my connection, my Wi-Fi connection has been so much better. It's been a much better experience, and there's not as much overlapping signals breaking up this thing. But I bring that up to say that when you buy a GoPro and you're trying to ask it to live stream, it's going to connect wirelessly. It's going to be controlled through your phone, which is wireless. It's not plugged in. And you have a 2-layered wireless system that you are trying to stream out. You are losing a lot of control. If that's worth it to you still because of the ease of access, by all means, cool, great. However, we should think of one other thing though. This encoder is not an easy task. It is a very challenging, complicated task. It's hard enough. If you've ever tried to stream to Facebook Live with your phone, or done any sort of live stream with your phone, you might notice your phone gets really hot. And that's because your processor is working so hard to churn out all of this computational math to figure out how to change what it's finding and seeing on the camera sensor and turn that into a digital feed. It's not easy. It's very complicated. And it's amazing that we've gotten to the point where people just take this for granted. I was watching a video when I first learned that GoPros could live stream, right? And the guy that was reviewing the GoPro, and specifically the live streaming function, ended the video by saying how disappointed he was that this camera, the GoPro camera, is able to record 4K video, and he has an internet connection that can handle 4K streaming. So it was really frustrating for him that his GoPro couldn't stream 4K video. But when you take that knowledge that we've just gained on what encoding is and how challenging it is and how much extra data is there in each frame of a 1080p video versus a 4K frame video, you start to understand, oh, you're asking this processor to work 4 times as hard in real time to encode that data and send it out to people. it's not possible yet from something that's this small. And if it is possible, it's going to severely limit the amount of time that you are able to operate it with. Whether or not that's because of battery life or because the process, there's no fans on this. It's not like this has a physical fan that can cool it down. It's not like it's water cooled or anything else. It is what it is, right? This doesn't have a fan. It exists. It is what it is. All solid state. Nothing mechanically moving. Once that thing overheats, once that processor overheats, you have no choice. It's very likely that your system in your camera or whatever equipment you're using to stream, it's very likely that if it starts overheating and it gets to a point where it's like, oh, I'm gonna damage the processor, or I'm gonna damage all of the connections that are on your chip or anything else that's inside that, it starts melting the electronics, it's gonna turn itself off. And now you have no choice but to wait until this thing cools down and you can churn numbers again. So, are your donation notifications turned off? I don't think so. Maybe they are. Aw, that's a shame. Ian! Hold on. One sec. We're gonna go, here, I'm gonna show you how I can do stuff on stream. I'm gonna try to hide this though, so that nobody else sees. Ready? And then I'm gonna put my display capture back on. Okay, one moment. So, this is my software encoder. We're gonna do a quick live tutorial on how to add sources. I turned my alerts off. I'm gonna turn my alert box back on. Okay, I'm gonna test subscriber. Whoa. Okay, let's move that to the middle. Cool. Then we're gonna transition that over. Cool, fantastic. And then I believe I should be able to redo a notification such as this one. Repeat the alert. Hopefully that works. Go, do it. Yay! Ian,
Here
dude.
you go, I'll toss a little money to help get you all through these times.
Oh my god. Dude, you're a champion. And then, even more so, I gotta do this as well. Oh.
Have some cash to get you through these times.
I appreciate it, man. You're a legend. You're a legend. Oh my god. Ah. Oh, I miss you guys so much. I miss you guys so much. I really... Oh man, I'm like gonna tear up. I'm so ready for this to be over. I want to get back. I want to get back to playing, having fun. And man, you're like gonna make me cry. Oh man. Yeah. We're all going through hard times right now. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, cool. Okay. Back at it. So, if you're asking your piece of equipment to record to an SD card and stream at the same time, you need to understand that what you're asking it to do is significantly challenging. It is hugely tasking in the sense of my old computer, which is not it's not like that bad of a computer, and it had a decent graphics card in it, but all of these numbers have to be processed somehow, and you will be limited by your processor's ability. I think I wish I had in front of me what my old processor was. The new Ryzen cards or the Ryzen CPUs are insane. This one that I'm streaming out with is a Ryzen 7 2700X. I'm really fortunate that I came into some money earlier in the year, and I was able to use that to upgrade the new desktop computer and make it my new editing and live streaming system. Eventually, what I'm looking to do is to continue to do this, to wirelessly send a feed out to an RTMP server that nobody can see. You're seeing this on an RTMP server, but it's YouTube's RTMP server, or if you're watching this on Facebook, Facebook's RTMP server. I set my own RTMP server up way back when on just like an Amazon Web Services EC2 instance, and I can stream to that. It doesn't go anywhere until I tell it to, but I can use something like VLC to log directly into that RTMP URL, and I can pull that, and I could use this computer, if I so chose, to pull that feed, re-encode it, which is frustrating, but it is what it is. This thing's encoding, it's compressing the data, and then it comes into the computer here, and then it would re-encode that data. Technically, you lose quality every time you do that, but it'd be kind of cool to be able to have all these alerts and whatnot that go through so that when somebody follows or when somebody subscribes, like Paul Burdett or Ray Devin, I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I thought I accidentally tested that out and I was like, oh, that's weird for a test widget, but you're real people, so cool. Thank you for following. It's fun to be able to do that. This is the kind of stuff that makes live streaming interesting. If you're doing something other than the live streams that I do in real life live streaming. I'm not a game streamer by any sense of the term. I stream my events. We turn this place into a Nerf arena. We shoot Nerf darts at each other. We have a lot of fun. I like to share that with you all, and that's how I stream. It's technically not gaming. I'm not playing a game that you can log into on your computer and play with me. You would have to be here physically in order to do it. So it's different, right? But this is why when people are big into game streaming, typically what they're doing, they're not playing their video game on the same rig that they're live streaming with, because live streaming is such a challenging task computationally of your processor, and your processor is already helping you visualize and play a video game, and typically it's like first-person shooters or whatnot, and everything's happening so fast. They can't limit themselves with their processing power. They need that for their game, and so they take that feed and they send it to a different computer that they built. They've got 2 PCs, and then that one that's just sitting right next to them, its sole job is this. All they built it for is to encode that feed and send it out. Right now, I wonder what my load is right now. My old computer, when I would stream at 720p, 60 frames a second, I would typically stream at around 7 or 8 megabits a second. That's the amount of information that's stored in each frame. My computer would instantly go to 100% load. And when your computer gets overloaded, it has no choice but to stop what it's doing, churn out the numbers, wait till everything processes through. Very similar to what we're experiencing right now, trying not to overload our healthcare system with the craziness of this virus spreading around. And then wait, it buffers, right? What we are doing right now is buffering our healthcare system. We are all suffering together to make sure that the healthcare system, which has a very real cap and capacity, isn't getting overloaded. I'm gonna show you my screen again so that you can see this. Okay, cool. My old computer, my old CPU, would instantly go to 100%. I am streaming at 1080p 60 frames a second right now, and this CPU, Ryzen 7 2700X, is not even breaking a sweat. That's insane. That's amazing. That's the power of hardware and being able to have better and better equipment that is able to handle these tasks. My GPU as well, which is it's being used mostly by this program because I'm also sending, like, part of the encoding job is being done by my graphics processor unit. Also, it's not even a crazy graphics card. It's a NVIDIA 1050 Ti. It is not I bought it for $150. It is not a very high-end graphics card, but it's still doing this job really well. Now, if I were to play a game and try to stream at the same time, that would get very challenging. It wouldn't function, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So that's the explanation there. Let's transition this back. So, if you're looking to just send any image out to somebody so that they can watch and see what you're doing, your phone will do almost as good of a job as a GoPro. It's doing essentially the same thing. It's very likely that the processor in your phone might even be better than GoPro's. However, what the GoPro is going to have that your phone doesn't have is a really great sensor. Also, the lens is obviously better as well. All of that contributes to the visual quality. If that matters to you, then it makes mathematical sense or financial sense to invest in a GoPro. Say, hey, cool, I'm able to more easily stream out a higher quality image. I have the bandwidth capability for it. I have good Wi-Fi coverage. I don't have a super noisy environment. I can stream this event. You could also use your GoPro to stream outdoors. Just know that bitrate is a thing. I'm streaming at 10 megabits a second right now. If you have a high bitrate stream, because you want the quality, and you're tethered to your phone's data network because you're outdoors and not around Wi-Fi, you are going to blow through data. Blow through data. I'm talking like 2 gigabytes for an hour-long stream. A lot of people get capped when they get to a certain point, and then your network or carrier is going to throttle you like crazy, and you probably won't be able to stream anymore or use your phone to tether anymore, and it's going to make it so that you can't use your GoPro outdoors anymore. Again, if that matters to you, great, cool. If you just want to do what I'm doing, the best way to handle it is with a desktop computer, just like I showed, desktop computer with a game capture card and an HDMI to a camera. It doesn't need to be any great camera. I could just as easily cut the stream right now, plug my, this thing in, and you would see a wider frame image. It wouldn't be as clear. You wouldn't have this cool bokeh because it's not the same lens that I have on my mirrorless camera. But for all intents and purposes, it would be a very similar experience because all I'm taking is some sort of sensor with an HDMI out, plugging into my game capture card, allowing my computer to see that image, process it, and send it out. If you're interested in just buying a camera that functions, if you already have a camera with HDMI out capabilities and you want to do something like I do, this is what you're looking for. This is a hardware encoder. The company that I bought this from is called U-Ray Tech. This thing was less than $200. Now, technically, I'm going to say this. There we go. It is H.264, which I said that's what most of the world works in. It also is able to encode at H.265. That is an upgraded version. It's called HEVC encoding. However, you should know, because I didn't, when I purchased this for the higher cost than just an H.264 encoder, no streaming platform, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, Mixer, none of them do HEVC live streams. You cannot send an H.265 feed to an RTMP server and expect it to get out. It doesn't function. It doesn't work. So keep that in mind. Your YouTube will literally just like, no, we're not going to accept this. So keep that in mind. Get the cheaper version. You only need H.264. And this will allow you to do significantly more than you were able to do before. if you want to like really go crazy and have a ton of video and live streaming will always be more reliable when you're wired in. Everything I just showed you is wireless. This is it doesn't need to be, but because of this little antenna, this is a wireless encoder. When you decide to go wireless, you give up control. You lose out on the reliability of your feed, and it's very likely that something will screw up in the environment around you and your feed will die. And if you're not ready for that, you should be. Because when you go Wi-Fi is not something that you can just take for granted. It is taken for granted when you're just trying to watch a video. If you wanted to watch me on your phone and go walk around your house, you can very easily take that for granted. All you're doing is just decoding the feed that is being sent to you, right? It's not a very challenging task for your processor. Encoding it and sending it out is very challenging. And so that's where, if you don't have that reliability with the connection, any sort of blip in your Wi-Fi coverage is going to kill that signal and your feed will die. Keep that in mind. If you're trying to stream on your phone, know that the bit rates that you're going to get and the overall visual quality will not be as good as somebody that is using an actual dedicated camera for their live streams. But with that said, this just works. You can literally just use Streamlabs exists on your phone. If like I'm using Streamlabs on my desktop computer, I have Streamlabs on my phone. I should have probably been able to bring this up or have this ready, but I'll just bring it up just so that you can see, and hopefully it's not too terrible on the camera. This is Streamlabs. Go, focus. There we go. This is Streamlabs. And I could use my camera sensor if I wanted to. I don't have it. I haven't given it permissions yet. But if I click that red button, it can use the camera of my phone and start streaming out to any RTMP server that I want. You can do this. It's free. It's a free program, and you can take the feed and send it and play around with it. But just know that if you don't have a higher end phone, it's going to be sluggish, and you will be stunted at what kind of image you can send out. If your phone can take 4K video, that does not mean that you can stream at 4K. It just doesn't. That's not how the system works. You need very advanced hardware in order to be able to do stuff like that. So I think I'm gonna say rant over. I'm gonna check up on chat real quick, and if you have any questions, more specifically, if you've ever been interested in live streaming and you're trying to figure out a live stream issue, I might be able to help. So feel free to hit me up with your questions. Can you react to my remix? I don't know what that means, Vespa. Sorry. Lucas, so is it just me or the stream occasional turns black for a moment? That's because your internet cannot handle the bit rate that I'm streaming out. So just keep that in mind. That's essentially what I'm talking about. Yeah. Bradley Phillips, yes. Lucas, it's probably your phone or computer buffering the video. Your device is trying to decode the video that I'm sending to YouTube and YouTube is sending to you. If your internet capacity doesn't allow that to happen, or your device, which is very unlikely in this day and age, can't handle that processing task, then buffering happens. It has to stop the task because this is a real-time stream. I'm sending this out. I think the delay right now, because I'm doing an ultra stream, it's somewhere around 4 seconds, I think, right now, maybe 6 seconds. Delay. If your device can't handle that, it has to stop, it has to buffer, and then play for you. Lucas, so I've experienced this in old ended live streams. Yes. So what if you were not here earlier? Because I stream in a Wi-Fi environment, I am so at the mercy of the Wi-Fi gods. And some days the Wi-Fi is better than others. I still have a lot to learn about networking. I still have a lot to learn about how to properly and most efficiently set up the access points in my environment to make sure that there are no dead zones. But we were getting a lot of choppiness in the past, and it turned out that it was all because of my neighbors and their Wi-Fi, and it was just such a noisy Wi-Fi environment that my little Wi-Fi encoder was having a really hard time talking with my access point. It's like trying to have a conversation in a really crowded bar playing really loud music, and you have to like yell, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" That's essentially what was happening. So, yeah. NorCal Nerf Club, off topic, but you'll be glad to know I just ordered a Havoc Prime. You can order Havoc Primes? No way. How did I not know about this? I'm supposed to be a brand ambassador for them. Heidi, why did you not let me know? Yeah, I do know that they are starting to get their initial batch from the manufacturers, because their manufacturers are out in China, and China is like just now starting to really ramp up production and get into the whole working thing after being shut down for so long because of the virus and whatnot. So yeah, they put their order in probably at the end of last year, and they were hoping to have it by spring this year, but obviously because of the shutdown, that did not happen. AIA Artemis, Aldas, you ever consider doing mixers FTL streaming, which is 0.5 second delay? I have the ability to do that with this. I just haven't had the time to play around with it. So, yeah, that is beyond what I want to talk about today. But yeah, Scott JS, oof, that was some fun times. Yeah, if anybody can make the travel out here, it's worth the while. We have a super fun environment, and it is really cool. There's nothing quite like it, and I say that even knowing that there are other. I have parkour colleagues that are gym owners that see what we do every Friday, and they try to do it, but like they're not into Nerf. They don't know how this functions. And it's just not the same. It's not the same. So, yeah. NorCal Nerf Club says, "Yep, just went up." I'm gonna try to find this. I wanna find what you're talking about. Did you order it directly from Velocity Outdoor? Havoc Prime. I'm gonna do that thing where I show you my desktop. Havoc Prime. SHOT Show. Hey, look, it's my video. Can you order directly from here? Help me. Or can you put a link to where you bought it on stream? That would be great. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. What if I do buy? Help! I can't find it. Put a link in the comments. Hey, there we go. Interesting. United Outdoor Supply. I've never heard of this company. How did they get their hands on this? So you're not purchasing. This is also more expensive than I was told it was going to be. So I wonder. I know that it's coming to box stores. They're trying to get on shelves. Where they're at with that experience, I don't know, but they are trying. So I don't know. When I get more information from my contact and my rep at Velocity Outdoor, I will let you all know. But yeah, this thing, I'll go grab it for you. Dead air. 1 sec. Yeah, I'm really impressed with what they've put together. Such an interesting version of the Sita. Such an interesting version of the Sita. It's very well made. But I mean, even the new Model S's are also very well made. I just really like the look of this. I love the vertical foregrip. I love the M-LOK rail. I'm excited to play around with that more. And so far, it's been functioning okay. The only issue that I have with it is the little dart tooth. This thing, not the nub, but like that thing right there, the little dart tooth. It keeps clipping the darts as it tries to feed in and causes jams. And so that's the only real issue that I've had with it. So they're still working on it. Still considered the early days, and yeah. Semicolon, I really want to make it out to Rochester to play with you all. Or back out, yeah. It's a fun time, man. It's a fun time. Scott JS, it's my goal to get back my next school semester. Cool, man. Yeah, it'll be great to see you again. Lucas, so you deserve more subs, man. Working on it. Working on it. We do all right. We're doing all right. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with slow growth. Slow growth is the kind of growth that sticks around, and it also gives me a lot of opportunity to I love that I can look at the chat stream and know who you people are, and you've been with me for so long. It's really fun seeing the names over and over again, and it so last week I was a part of the world's largest mod party. That was a really cool experience. So fun. They basically did everything through Zoom. We were us presenters were on through Zoom calls with our computer, and then that was going to Adrian was pulling that very similar to how we are here with OBS, and then streaming that out. And yeah, that was cool. That was a good time. I don't know what I just lost my train of thought there, but oh, the chat stream there. Oh my god, and especially for me, because I was doing the giveaway portion of that with Captain Xavier. The chat was just blowing by, and it's like, oh, okay, I understand why my favorite streamer is Stone Mountain 64. Shout out, you should go take a look. He's so fun. He's so fun. I can't watch a stream of his and not smile. It's really enjoyable. He's really entertaining to watch. I love him playing and doing fun stuff with Aculite. Every so often I'll watch a Shroud stream, but yeah, Stone Mountain 64 is my favorite. But it must be awful trying to catch up with chat. Stone Mountain 64 regularly has 6,000 people watching him when he goes live, and they're all chatting. It's like, how do you keep track of it? That's insane. I've got 9 right now, at least on YouTube. So yeah. NorCal Nerf Club, by the way, where do you order your Z-tips? I get them from NFStrike, nfstrike.com. And then what we do, because they won't do Z-tips at half length, we have a cutter. So we'll order them, and then we have to sit here and cut them into be half lengths, which is hard. But I mean, they're 2 cents a dart, so how can you go wrong? Scott J.S., I'm working on getting the Rochester Parkour videos out. Yeah, I want to see them. Just started to get a little more comfortable with DaVinci Resolve, then my hard drive died. Oh no. Okay, but it sounds like you were able to save the files. So actually that brings up an on-topic point. Encoding your video, like when you use a video editing software, the reason why it's really challenging to edit a compressed version or using a codec like MP4, or I guess technically it's not the codec, AVC is the codec, H.264 is the codec. The reason why it's so challenging to edit that video is because when you click that arrow key to move your cursor one frame, when you're going frame by frame through a video, you are not looking at individual frames. Those frames, for all intents and purposes, don't exist. They don't exist. Your computer, when you click the arrow key, has to process which direction are we going, then it has to take the closest iframe to where you were, the next iframe in the series in the direction that you just moved the frame, extrapolate all the computational math for the stuff that's inside those text files that I was talking about at the beginning of the stream, and then it has to display you that image. The image isn't real. It's not there. It's a computational problem that it has to, the resulting thing is that image. So when you start getting into higher bitrate videos, or when you start getting into larger video files like the jump from 720p to 1080p to 4K, that's where you start understanding the reason why your computer might not be able to handle 4K video right now as is because it cannot process it. My computer at the house that my wife uses, and she's been learning how to video edit. It's so cool. It's fun learning and sharing what we do together. She's starting to edit a lot of the video content that we're creating for the parkour gym side of things, not the arena Nerf side of things. And so she's starting to edit that video and get it out there. AZ Films do. Duh. DX. Duh. Welcome. What you're doing there with your AVC H.264 coded video, if you keep it like that, you are constantly telling your processor to churn through these numbers and display it out in real time. That is so challenging. So that computer at home cannot handle 4K video, and sometimes because this camera that I'm showing you right now can save and output and whatnot really high quality 4K video, but she can't edit it on the home rig. It's not possible unless you do a process called transcoding. What's transcoding? Transcoding is taking a piece of software where you input your compressed piece of software, your AVC H.264 encoded video, and you run it through a decode algorithm that then saves it and changes it from an interframe video, H.264. Again, these are not complete images. You've got one frame, another frame, like 120 frames later, and then everything else in between is math. And then it changes it to an intraframe file. And there's a lot of different formats that you can use for that. DNX, I think, is the one that DaVinci Resolve wants to use. Just know that when you take this video, this H.264 video, which let's say is like 1 gigabyte, right? It's 1 gigabyte. That's what it is. And when you extrapolate that into an intraframe file, now it's going to be so big, like 24 gigs big, like 30 gigs big, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It can be huge. However, if you have the space on your storage on your computer for it, if I were to do that, if I were to take the time to transcode my AVC files into a DNX file, again, I don't know if exactly if that is what the raw form or intra-frame format is, but if it is, boom, cool, fantastic. That computer at home could process and video edit 4K video. It's just a really frustrating workflow where you have to sit there and your computer, like it takes a really long time for the computer to do this too, right? Because like that, again, is a mathematical computational problem where you're taking this thing and trying to expand it into this thing. But if you have the patience for it, you can do it. If you are limited by your software, or sorry, by your hardware at home, and you don't have the money right now to invest in a better quality PC, then that's something that is available to you and might open up doors. Just know the files are huge. The files are so big, so be prepared for that. But when you render out that video, that's what rendering is. You are encoding it into MP4 using the same codec, boom, that's compressing it down and allowing you to send it to YouTube. That's what it's doing. If you have a lower quality CPU, it's not going to render quickly. I think when I was rendering 1080p 60 frames a second video on the PC at my house, it would take, if I had a 10-minute video, it would probably take anywhere between a half hour and 45 minutes to render if I did nothing to the color, which is to say, if I were to just take whatever input that file is, not change the contrast, not grade the color, not like mess with the exposure or anything else like that. If I didn't do anything to it, it could render out in 30 minutes to 45 minutes. If I tried to use a noise filter on it to like reduce the noise that's in my video, that would go, if I was trying to run noise reduction on a 10-minute 1080p 60 frames a second video, that 30 to 45 minutes of render time would go to 24 to 30 hours. It would render at like 1 frame a second. That's awful. That's terrible. Whereas with this CPU, this desktop that I have right now, the Ryzen 7 2700X, I can render faster than real time even with some color grading. If I were to like change the color and contrast and whatnot, if I'm trying to render out a 1080p 60 frames a second video, I can render at like 80 frames a second. Faster. It's a 10-minute video. It renders in 8 minutes. Wow. That's fun. That saves a lot of time, right? That my computer, like I can use it and do stuff with. If I put noise reduction on it, it renders at like 14, 15 frames a second, but still 15 times faster than the experience before. It's insane. It's the same process though. It's the same thing. And that's what's happening. And that's why the hardware that you're using is so important when it comes to video production and live streaming. It's why it's challenging. It is a challenging thing that is happening, and you need to respect it for what it is. Nerf Builder says, I just edited a video, but since I was using iMovie, I had to export it a bunch of times to get all the layers I wanted, and it noticeably degraded the video. Exactly. If you were to take, let's say if you were only do rendering processes one at a time, you take your video and you render it out. What it's doing is compressing everything, right? It's compressing, it's trying to take away detail in the video that you don't care about, right? Because otherwise, if you show somebody every bit of data in every single pixel, these files are huge. If you weren't here in the beginning of the stream, I was talking, there's a link down in the description for Larry Jordan, I believe his name is. Let me find the, Larry Jordan. He gives some just ballpark information as to what is in an uncompressed file And the numbers were, for an uncompressed standard definition video, it required 35 megabytes per second. For 1080p HD, it was 210 megabytes per second. Well, I wonder what that is, actually. I'm going to do 210 times 8. That is 1,680 megabits per second. I don't know about you, but my upload bandwidth is capped right now at 20 in the gym. It's capped at 20 megabits per second. That's nowhere close, right? My download speed is capped from my service provider at 120 megabits per second. The internet, the fiber optic network that I have in my house is a little bit better. Why? I don't know. It's we have a little small startup company named Greenlight in Rochester. They're amazing. I love them. I love that I don't have to give money to Spectrum. I just don't understand the difference between this. My house has 500 megabits per second down. That's getting pretty close to this 1680 that I just talked about, but still, again, a third of what I would need to pull an uncompressed 1080p video through. And my upload speed is 300 megabits per second. Again, I don't have the capacity to do that. That's significantly higher than most people. If you don't have the capacity, you can't expect to be able to do that. You have no choice. You have no choice but to compress it, and compressing is not easy. They make it seem easy. The team of companies and people that collaborated together to create AVC coding, I guess it's technically redundant. Advanced video coding. AVC coding. Advanced video coding. The team that came together to collaborate their patents to create H.264, it's mind-boggling. They did such a good job at making it seem like this is an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Keep that in mind when you want to get into live streaming. It's not easy. And if somebody is telling you that it's going to be easy, you are giving up control in some form or fashion. Actually, just something that I thought about that I wasn't able to say, for anybody that is interested in buying a GoPro because of its live stream capabilities. Because the GoPro is doing everything for you, and they're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to live stream something out. You are giving up a ton of control. Not only are you giving up the control to, do fun flourishes and whatnot, like I did today in the stream, and be able to show you my desktop or show the alerts and how amazing Ian is for donating money today. It's like more money than I can ever imagine. Oh my God. Yeah. I love you. But I just lost my train of thought. Oh my God. Oh no, where was I going with this? Shoot. I had a good point to make. Oh, GoPro. Okay. GoPro maxes. It has a true cap on the bit rate that you can stream out. Just so that you are aware, when I save video with my Sony FDR X3000, when I save it to my SD card, the resulting image is 100 megabits per second. That's how much data I am writing to the card per second into that file. That's important. That's important to know, because if you have something like this, and you say, this can record 1080p. This can also record 1080p. Are they the same? Let's say the sensors are the same. Let's say even that the lenses are the same. What a company is not telling you is, or typically what a company is not telling you, is what the bit rate is. How much data are they writing per second with that file? With something like this, it's writing a fraction of the amount of data that this is. And the reason why that matters is because I am trying to capture a high, fast twitch, a fast-paced action game. I have this on my head, and I'm constantly doing this, and fast panning, and moving around. If you don't have a high bitrate feed being saved to your SD card, and you don't have an SD card that can write that much data per second, what it's going to do is blur everything. And you lose quality as you fast pan and move every single pixel, because when you take this and do that and do a fast pan back and forth, you are changing every single pixel. If I sit here like this, very few pixels are moving except for the pixels on my mouth, and that's not that many pixels. I start doing this and a lot of pixels go through. If you don't have a bit rate that can write that much data per second to the file, what you're going to get is a hugely blurry image. So keep that in mind. A GoPro, when you live stream, is capping your feed at 4 megabits per second. This stream that you're seeing right now is 10 megabits a second, more than twice the quality of what you will ever get out of a GoPro. So keep that in mind. That affects the real amount of data and the quality of video that your end user, your wonderful person that is, on stream, one of my 8 concurrent viewers right now, one of those people that is sitting here taking in that feed and being able to see, it's going to be a lesser quality video experience for them. However, think about that. They say that the GoPro Hero 8 can stream at 1080p. Cool. But they cap it at 4 megabits. That's not a lot of data for a 1080p frame. You have so many pixels, so many more pixels than a 720p image to try to write data to. You might as well drop your GoPro down to a 720p image, because a 4 megabit per second stream at 720p will always look better than a 4 megabit per second 1080p stream. That just is what it is. And because you have the same amount of data that you're trying to write to a larger frame, it's like having a 60-inch monitor. You go, wow, cool, 60 inches. But then the resolution of it is only 480p. You go, wait, so it's 60 inches, but it's only 480p? That would be a horrible viewing experience. That's what that is. That's what that bitrate is. That's what it's doing. You're not able to write enough data to get a wonderful quality image to a person watching your feed. All of these things are things that you need to think about when considering how you want to stream and the kind of equipment that you choose if you're looking at getting into video editing, video capturing, videography, and everything else in between. This has been a long rant. It's been a long stream. Chat is starting to die. So with that said, I believe I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to go home and eat some food. So again, this has been a topic that I wanted to discuss for quite a while. If you're watching this after it went live, chances are you're probably not going to hear me say this anyway, but by all means, I'm here to help. I would love to help you figure out how to do what I do. That would be great. I'm fine with that. You can absolutely hit me up. You can write a comment on this video. I'm gonna do a comment video soon because I've been so back and forth recently that I haven't been answering comments recently. However, write a comment to me. I will answer it. I will see it. I will answer it. I do make a point of answering all of your comments. So I will get back to you with that. You can direct message me through Instagram. I will reply. I will get in contact with you through there, and you can ask me questions, and I will try to help. If you want, we've got a Discord. Discord link is down in the description. Join the Discord. You can hit up and chat with a bunch of other cool people that you'll see on stream eventually when we're back doing our stuff and doing fun things again. Fun things again. Let's do it. I want to have the fun. I want to have the fun. Soon, right? But yeah, you can chat with us. We talk about Nerf stuff, but we also talk about a lot of different things. So feel free to hit me up through there and ask me questions, and I would love to help. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all. I wish you luck in not only your own channel and hobby experience, but also I hope that you stay safe and have a good time. And yeah, thanks for being here with me, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.